Assalamu alaikum and good greetings. Today we will be learning a bit on what is the Christian perspective on the issue whether Eve is at fault for Adam eating from the tree. So recently I have posted this video with the title, "Is it Eve's fault that Adam ate from the tree?" And then I have received this comment, and we will be reading through this comment for me to learn and understand what or how is it from the perspective of a Christian, and specifically from the Catholic Church teaching. Now, in case any of you are identifying yourself as Christian but not from the Catholic background, and if any of these points is different for you, feel free to comment. I would like to learn as well. So let's go straight to the comment. This is how the fall of man is seen in Christianity. You can do a follow-up video based on this comment if you want. Here are the account from the Bible and the explanation of that account from the Catechism of the Catholic Church. Genesis 3. The first sin and its punishment. Now, the serpent was more crafty than any other wild animal that Yahweh God had made. Okay, so I assume it is true that the serpent is involved in the story. Because in Islam, there's no serpent, there's just Satan, right? He said to the woman, "Did God say, 'You shall not eat from any tree in the garden'?" The woman said to the serpent, "We may eat of the fruit of the trees in the garden, but God said, 'You shall not eat of the fruit of the tree that is in the middle of the garden, nor shall you touch it, or you shall die.'" Alright, so from this, what I can understand is the command from God is not to go near, not to touch or not to eat from the tree in the middle, or you shall die. So that is interesting, because from the primary source in Islam, it's just the forbidden, meaning it is being made forbidden. You should not come close to the tree. It does not say what is the implication. Hence, Satan said that, or tricked them, deceived them, saying that God do not want you to eat from it because it will lead you to become eternal, right? So that's the deception here. From what I can understand, God have told that the implication of eating from it is you shall die. But the serpent said to the woman, "You will not die, for God know that when you eat of it, your eyes will be opened. You will be like God, knowing good and evil." Okay, that's interesting deception. That prior to that, perhaps your eyes is closed and you will not be knowing good or evil like God. Okay, so that's the point of deception is different. So when the woman saw that the tree was good for food, and that it was a delight to the eyes, and that the tree was to be desired to make one wise, she took of its fruit and ate, and she also gave some to her husband, who was with her, and he ate. Okay, so if I take this literally, it is the woman that took the fruit and gave to the husband. So in a way, the woman is the one kind of responsible, because the serpent deceived the woman. The woman take the fruit, eat it, and also give it to the husband. And so far, the husband did not question where this from. Is it from the forbidden tree or something? Then the eyes of both were opened, and they knew that they were naked, and they sewed fig leaves together and made loincloths for themselves. Okay, so there's a process here, because sewing is something that take time, right? It's not instantaneous, so they have the time to sew together to make the clothes. They heard the sound of Yahweh God walking in the garden Okay, so that is interesting. So meaning that from the Bible, I think this is from the Bible, right? From Genesis 3, Yahweh God is presented as something like human or something that is walking, right? So that is interesting. First time I knew that. I didn't know that in the Bible God is depicted in that way. So, and that meaning walking in a way that the sound of the walk can be heard. So that is interesting to me. In the garden at the same time of the evening breeze, and the man and his wife hid themselves from the presence of Yahweh God among the trees of the garden. Okay, so that is interesting as well, meaning that you can hide from God from using trees. But Yahweh God called the man and said to him, "Where are you?" That's interesting as well. He said, "I heard the sound of you in the garden, and I was afraid because I was naked and I hid myself." Okay, so the reason of being afraid is because he was naked, not because he have done wrong by eating it. Okay. He said, "Who told you that you were naked? Have you eaten from the tree of which I commanded you to eat?" Okay, so whether God did not know or God addressed the man as if he don't know, so I'm not sure. The man said, "The woman whom you gave to me, you gave to be with me, she gave me the fruit from the tree and I ate." Okay, so that is interesting here, in the sense that the man actually put the fault to the woman. If I just read it, meaning that at least that is how he, how to say, justify what happened to God by saying, well, my wife gave it to me and I ate it. But of course, I ate it. Still, I have some accountability, right? Then Yahweh God said to the woman, "What is this that you have done?" The woman said, "The serpent tricked me and I ate." Okay, so that is interesting. It appeared that the man gave justification that the woman is the one that gave to me, and God turned to the woman, and because this question can kind of imply that the woman is the one more responsible. "What have you done?" And the woman said, well, the serpent tricked me." And then God said to the serpent, "Because you have done this, cursed are you among all animals, and among all wild creatures. Upon your belly you shall go, and dust you shall eat all the days of your life. I will put enmity between you and the woman, and between your offspring and hers. You will strike your head, and you will strike his heel." I'm not sure what this means. But it is between. So the serpent is actually a serpent, because the serpent is cursed. Originally, the serpent is okay together with other animals, but this episode make the serpent to be cursed. So that is interesting, meaning that it is a serpent that actually is tricking the woman, while from Islamic perspective it's Satan, right? It's the devil. To the woman he said, I believe he is God, right? I will make your pangs in childbirth exceedingly great. In pain you shall bring forth children, yet your desire shall be for your husband, and he shall rule over you. Okay, how to understand this? Is it accurate to say that childbirth pain exceedingly great, the pain of childbirth is a result of her doing in eating and giving her husband to eat from the fruit? Is that accurate to say? Because I think this is what lead some to say that the pain of childbirth, etc., is a result of that sin of eating, and then he shall rule over you. So is that also a result, meaning that because the woman is at fault here, you will be under the rule of a man? So is that accurate to say that how Christian depicts the relationship between a man and a woman? and woman, because of that sin, now unfortunately your man will rule over you. And to the man he said, because you have listened to the voice of your wife. That's interesting, because meaning the wife is still the one that is deceiving him or responsible for the deception. So but you listen to that and have eaten from the tree about which I have commanded you, shall not eat it. Cursed is the ground because of you. Okay, so interesting. The curse is the ground because of you. So the ground is the one that is being cursed because of your action. Interesting. Why is it different from the woman? In toil you shall eat all the day of your life. Thorns and thistle it shall bring forth for you, and you shall eat the plants of the field. But the sweat of your face you shall eat bread until you return to the ground, for out of it you were taken. You are dust, and to dust you shall return. So I don't understand this. What is the... If I understand correctly, the woman have to suffer a painful childbirth, and I cannot imagine what kind of pain that is. Yeah, but I can appreciate it is very, very painful. But for the man, his wrongdoing caused the ground to be cursed, and from the ground is the plants, etc., that will be eaten by man. And you shall eat bread. So how to understand this? Because the ground is cursed now, so men will be eating bread that is a product of wheat from the ground or something like that. So I'm not sure. And okay, so that's interesting. That's different. The man named his wife Eve because she was the mother of all living, and Yahweh God made garment of skins for the man and for his wife and clothed them. So this is after the closing, after the episode, I guess. Then Yahweh God said, see, the humans have become like one of us, knowing good and evil. Okay, so is that true? Meaning that, so human have become like one of us. So, okay, first, who is Yahweh God said this to? Because human have become like one of us. So meaning that Yahweh God is one of us. Meaning that that's us, right? Yahweh God when someone else's. And now human, because they have eaten from it, they're now knowing good and evil. So that would mean that what the serpent said is true, right? Because the serpent said that the result of eating from it is that your eyes will be opened and you will know good and evil like God. And Yahweh actually confirmed that. Is that correct? And now they might reach out their hands and take also from the tree of life and eat and live forever. Meaning that from eating the tree, actually human can live forever. I don't understand this. Therefore Yahweh God sent them forth from the Garden of Eden to till the ground from which they were taken. He drove out the humans, and at the east of the Garden of Eden he placed the cherubim and a sword flaming and turning to the guard the way to the tree of life. Okay, I'm not sure. I think this is meaning that the human is drove out, etc. Right? But this is interesting to me. This is the first time I read something like this. It actually results that human. So can you answer me this? So meaning, I thought, because people say that human are created in the image of God or something, right? But it's still not like God until this episode where Adam and Eve eat from the tree. Now human have become like God. And so I'm not sure us from meaning there's God, Yahweh God, there's a group of other people, I guess, and then now there's human that know good from evil. Can you confirm who is the us other than Yahweh God and human? And if my understanding of this verse is correct. Now, what is the CCC? Oh, this is the Catechism, Catholic Church, right? The how to understand, I guess. It's like the tafsir, I guess. How to read the account of the fall. Alright, so this is the explanation. I've read the actual verse. I've pondered upon it, and my questions I have mentioned. So let's take a look at what the Catholic Church said. How to read the account of the fall. The account of the fall in Genesis 3 uses figurative language, but affirms a primeval event, a deed that took place at the beginning of history of man. Revelation gives us the certainty of faith that the whole human history is marked by the original fault freely committed by our first parent. Okay, so meaning that those verses are taken to confirm the original sin concept, I guess. But I'm not sure what this means, figurative language. Okay, and then original sin, freedom put to the test. God created man in his image and established him in his friendship. Okay, so maybe there are other verses that says this, I think. A spiritual creature, man can live this friendship only in free submission to God. The prohibition against eating of the tree of knowledge of good and evil spells this out. For in the day that you shall eat it, you shall die. So, okay, this is interesting because the instruction not to eat it indicates that if you eat it, you will die. Like God says, you will die. But the serpent says, no. If you eat it, you'll be like God and know good and evil. And Yahweh God actually said afterwards that, okay, now human is like us, knowing good from evil. So if that is understood correctly, did God lie about you shall die? And the serpent said something that is true, which is confirmed by God Yahweh afterwards, that eating from it actually opens your eyes and knowing good and evil. That's interesting. The tree of knowledge of good and evil symbolically evokes the insurmountable limits that man, being a creature, must freely recognize and respect with trust. Man is dependent on his creator and subject to the laws of creation and to the moral norms that govern the use of freedom. Okay? So, subject to the laws of creation and moral norms. So, God said you should not eat it, you shouldn't. But I'm interested to understand the repercussion and the consequence that is quite different for men and women. Man's first sin. Man, tempted by the devil, let his trust in his creator die in his heart, and abusing his freedom, disobey God's command. This is what man's first sin consisted of. All subsequent sin would be disobedience toward God and lack of trust in his goodness. In that sin, man preferred himself to God by that very act scorned him. He chose himself over God and against God, against the requirements of his creaturely status, and therefore against his own good. Created in a state of holiness, man was destined to be fully divinized by God in glory. Seduced by the devil. Okay, so seduced by the devil. So, is it implicitly or explicitly or somehow stated that the serpent is devil? Or the serpent is actually called devil because the serpent did that? Or how? Because throughout the story, it is said the serpent, right? And part of the animal and become the cursed animal. Is nowhere that I found that the serpent is the devil. Anyway, he wanted to be like God, but without God, before God, and it's not according to God. Okay, I guess. Scripture portrays the tragic consequences of this first disobedience. Adam and Eve immediately lose the grace of original holiness. Mm, where in the verse that indicate this? Because the verse did say about the woman now have to suffer the pain and the man have to eat bread or something. But where is it about all holiness? Does it say anything? They become afraid of the God of whom they have conceived a distorted image, that of a God jealous of his prerogative. Okay, the harmony in which they have found themselves thanks to the original justice is now destroyed. The control of the soul's spirit faculties over the body is shattered. The union of man and woman becomes subject to tension. Their relations henceforth marked by lust and domination. How is this extrapolated from the verses? Harmony with creation is broken. Visibly, creation has become alien and hostile to man. Because of man, creation is now subject to its bondage to decay. Finally, the consequence explicitly foretold for this disobedience will come true. Man will return to the ground. Okay, so that's the end of the what God said to man. For out of it he was taken. But this is true even before he ate from the tree, right? Meaning that God did not plan for human to return to the ground, but unfortunately, not knowing to God, both Adam and Eve will actually eat from the tree, and now man will return to the ground. Is that the story? Death makes its entrance into human history. Okay. After that first sin, the world is virtually inundated by sin. There is Cain's murder of his brother Abel, and the universal corruption which follows in the wake of sin. Likewise, sin frequently manifests itself in the history of Israel, especially as infidelity of the God of the covenant, as transgression of the law of Moses. And even after Christ's atonement, sin raises its head in countless ways among Christians. Scripture and the church tradition continually recall the presence and universality of sin in man's history. Okay, why is this italic? What Revelation makes known to us is confirmed by our own experiences. For when man looks into his own heart, he finds that he is drawn towards what is so wrong and sunk in many evils which cannot come from his good creator. Often refusing to acknowledge God as his source, man has also upset the relationship which should link him to his last end, and at the same time he has broken the right order that should reign within himself as well as between himself and other men and all creature. Okay, so all of this did not answer many of my questions with regard to, for example, why the punishment for woman and man is different, and just by reading it, woman seems to have it worse. That's number one. Number two, is it true that where is it, that now because human have become like us, knowing good and evil, meaning that what is this deception of the serpent then? Because the serpent is saying true, right? Because the serpent simply say, let me see, what the serpent said. What the serpent said to man: "You will not die, for God knows that when you eat it, of your eyes will open, and you will be like God, knowing good and evil." So overall, this later part is confirmed by God Himself, or is it this part? You will not die is the one that is the deception, because this one is like true, right? And God actually said that, meaning that before that, human or man and woman will not know good and evil, unlike God. But now we do. That is interesting. Anyway, so that's the what I can gather from the comments. So of course, feel free to add on and comment and educate me further, so that I would understand further what Christianity teach about this. Of course, for those who haven't watched this video, I have covered what is the account from Quran perspective about, the episode where Adam and Eve eat from the tree. Of course, if you have watched that, or if you watch after this, you will notice it has very significant different from the Christian account. Anyway, that's it for today. Thank you for watching. See you next time.